Frank Thorne and Johnny Hazard fans, guess what? After a whole year, Johnny Hazard Volume 7. There it is, in all of its glory. And some exciting news. We've been threatening to come out with the Johnny Hazard Sundays for 2 or 3 years. And I received an email, I won't say from who until I get his permission, saying, why aren't you doing any more Johnny Hazard books? And I emailed them back and said, well, we are, but we do maybe one Dailies book a year because the demand isn't super duper, but we love Johnny Hazard. And it's our intention, and we have a license to do this, to reprint Johnny Hazard through 1977 when it ended. Johnny Hazard's one of the great all-time adventure strips. It's up there with Scorchy Smith, which Frank Robbins worked on. And it's up there with Steve Canyon, and it's not up there with Terry the Pirates because Terry and the Pirates, the Kniff version, is in a class by itself. The George Wonder version, which we reprinted the first 4 years of, it's pretty neat, but it doesn't get better as it goes on. But that being said, Johnny Hazard is consistently one of the true great adventure strips by one of the great adventure artists in comic strips. Don't get me going on that. But anyway, when I answered the email, I said, you know, we're missing 22 of the Sundays. We have virtually 4 years of Sundays. We're missing 22. We get an email back. Well, I've got scans of the tear sheets. So after I picked myself off the floor, we emailed this person back, and I'll get permission to say who he is, but he's acknowledged in the book. And we got the material, and we traded him some stuff we had that we didn't have, and we went to work on it. It's finished, finally. Now, that book is interesting, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it because when we get the it's at the printer. When we get the advances on it, I'm going to show it off. But one thing you have to realize is that Johnny Hazard, the Sundays, was a tabloid. It's been reproduced before, but to my eye, they used the black and white proofs, and they colored them, and they didn't look at the color guides, and they most certainly didn't look at the tear sheets because the colors don't match what we have. They also use solid colors where we're obviously scanning the originals, and it has all the halftones and all the character of the original Sundays. So we're reproducing it on wood-free paper instead of a coated stock, and we're reproducing it full size. So when you look at these Johnny Hazard tabloid Sundays, it will be like having a perfect version of the original tear sheets in their full size. So it'd be like getting the newspaper, opening it up, and seeing it, but it's perfect. And the colors are consistent with and match, but they're nicer than the original tear sheets. That being said, let's look at the dailies. Now you'll notice that there's a parakeet on Johnny Hazard's shoulder, and that parakeet's very important because that parakeet, Gadzooks, is one of the characters in the second story, the main character actually. So in this book we have, as usual, we have an introduction with some original art, and we have more original art, and we have more introduction. And then we have the strips, which we use the press proofs for. I think there might have been a half a dozen or so where we didn't have the press proofs because Michigan State didn't have them, so we borrowed some tear sheets from a very helpful collector who was the same collector who lent us the Sundays. And you may notice a slight difference. They're not quite as perfect, but that's what happens when you do a complete reprint. Sometimes you can't get the material. Now, this particular book has 7 continuities. It has What's My Name? A Little Birdie Told Me. That's the cover image. It's a snap. Death at the Opera. There's No Hiding Place. The Car Thief. And Project Heat Barrier. So you have 7 separate continuities, which is 300 and, 4 pages of Johnny Hazard goodness. And if you look at the side here, you can see the chapter divisions. Hopefully you can. No, here, if I hold it like this, you can. You can see that each different chapter is denoted with a gray heading. So the cover fell off. And as usual, we have a printed laminated cover, back cover with some original art. We have a dust jacket, so you don't ruin your printed laminated cover. We have the book printed so it's indestructible. Look at this here. And it'll line up with all the other Johnny Hazard books that we have. And next year we'll be coming out with Johnny Hazard Volume 8. And this year, toward the end of the year, year. I figure maybe November, maybe January, depending on various shipping issues, which we have no control over. You will have the Johnny Hazard Sundays. And I'd just like to thank President Trump for making these books more expensive, because we are going to have to raise the price. And this has got nothing to do with politics, fans. It has to do with the fact that Hermes Press has to pay a 15% tariff on these books, which come from our printer. And that's just life. So if you wonder why the price of these books is going up, that's the reason. And everybody knows about the tariff. We're not making it up. So if you love Johnny Hazard, you're going to love this book. I think it's a really neat looking cover. The contents are beautiful. The stories are great. I've read them all. I wrote the essay. The essay is a lot of fun. And more great Frank Robbins. And of course, I've just announced that the Sundays will be available either toward the end of this year or early next year, depending on when we get them shipped in from Hong Kong. Because in concluding, let me just say this. We printed Gita Volume 2 in June. And it took much longer to come from Hong Kong than it usually does. And then it was held at the port because it arrived on the 16th of September, and we paid the duty, and it was released, and we still don't have it. And this is the 23rd. So it's taking a little longer. But we don't have control over these things. But you have to understand why things are delivered when they're delivered. So I just explained it to you. Any questions? Email me or email info@Hermes Press. That's all for now. Bye-bye.